Hey there, Kaleidoscope Klan. How's everyone doing? It's Mariposa Ma'at. It's coming on live. It's been a little while, and Spirit has encouraged me to come on and share a little very personal story. And I am sharing it in hopes that it will help others. You know, it's a very emotional story, but I don't know if the emotion will come out because it is something that I guess it's natural to compartmentalize in order to, well, I mean, for me now, actually, my emotion around it, I guess, is kind of deadened because I've dealt with it for some time. So anyway, this is about how my children were kidnapped from me 10 years ago, and how ever since that time, it really severed my relationship. And even though, when it happened at the beginning in 2013 is when this happened. Me and my ex-husband broke up. I decided that the relationship was extremely abusive emotionally, financially, mentally, physically, overall. It was just abusive. And so I was basically under hypnosis. I was under a spell. I was, controlled not just by him, but also by family and community, trying to basically keep me in a third party situation, where he wasn't even living in the same state. He had, started living with the woman he's married to now. And I was trying to hold everything together, just stay with my children, stay focused. I had moved into my parents' home and was waiting for him to get back on his feet financially, because we had just come back from Africa. And basically, he just went AWOL from that point, just started doing whatever he wanted to do. So I was homeschooling and just really focused on that, really trying to basically be a single parent who was still supposedly with someone. And ultimately, after 2 years of struggling in my mother's home, trying to make ends meet, and then he dropped all of the bills, because he was, the only thing that I had him doing was paying off a credit card again until he could get, things, just doing, the minimum payments or whatever. I had gotten on food stamps, which is something I never done before. But again, my main focus was to continue to cover my children as best as possible and to focus on them. So ultimately, it was April 6, 2012, when it was a full moon. I don't remember what night it was, what full moon it was, but it was a full moon. I should check, because now I'm in astrology. But we were supposed to talk. I told him that I needed to talk. And he didn't answer the phone all into the evening, middle of the night. And he was living with another woman at that point. So my grandmother, her spirit came to me and told me, no mas, like, why are you doing it? Kind of knocked me into having some sense, because I was, like I said, I was out of my mind, just really brainwashed with the idea that being a mother was my identity, that it was my job to hold it down no matter what. Even if he went AWOL, I was supposed to hold it together, which is something that, as women, we think of as being honorable, right? At that point, we had been married. We had our ceremony in 97. And so when we finally broke up, it was 15 years later, in 2012, you know, the year of the end of the world. So I really felt that. Basically, he had abandoned us in my mother's house, which was not a place for me to be either. It's not. I had no intention of my family ongoing, because that had never actually been a place that I needed to be either. And so when I did it, I thought that we could co-parent and be friends, because he had been a womanizer and doing all these things, and I was still trying to maintain, co-parenting, not taking it so personally that I wouldn't be able to work with him. However, when I broke up with him and he was already seeing one woman, he decided to declare war on me. Immediately, he started to stalk me, and I started seeing a friend of mine from college, and he was going through divorce, and so my ex moved in with that woman, and stayed with her for 2 years. So it wasn't a small thing. It was very, very crazy. And so he drug, just all this drama, like it became like War of the Roses or something. It was just really insane for me. I'm not a conflictual person. And so there was nothing desirable about going back and forth with him, fighting. It didn't feed me in any way. I'm not into that. It was a lot of drama and very extremely, extremely traumatic. But from the day that he got them, immediately, anytime that I wanted to get my children, he would block it. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because I remember being young and seeing movies about this kind of thing, or hearing stories about these kind of things, like America's Most Wanted and different things, where parents would hold children for like 10 years. And you'd think, how could that possibly be? Like, there's no way, like, it's not possible. But it is possible, because when someone has connections in the legal system, and anytime you try to go through the legal routes, you're blocked. And again, I had been a mother, stay-at-home mom. So financially, basically, he had already, because he wasn't supporting us enough, he had gotten me down to an economic level that was so low in order to stay focused on my children, that he could play games. And then he had a lot of women who were helping him. He had a few girlfriends. He had a few ex-girlfriends who were probably still girlfriends too, because he's a serious, serious manipulator. You can just call him P. Diddy of the healer community. So it actually, when you imagine being in a situation like, imagine that your family would step up with you, that your community would stand up with you, that this person wouldn't feel comfortable acting crazy, and that people would say, hey, what are you doing? It's your family, blah, blah, right? But that didn't happen. In fact, my ex had a column in the newspaper that was called Man Up. And he continued that, even though he was a womanizer and was not supporting our family and spending all of his energy fighting instead of supporting us. The community was crickets, my family was crickets, and it was very strange to me, because I was really fighting tooth and nail physically when I like going to the court and trying to file all these papers and do different things on my own. I wouldn't get approved legal assistance. I tried it in Los Angeles. I was turned down. And during the time that we were both in Los Angeles, first of all, he won custody, which he should never have won custody. He played all kinds of games. He lied to the court. He lied on everyone in my family, said that they committed crimes, subjected us to all kinds of testing and all kinds of stuff, where it ended up not being substantiated. But mind you, that's my mother, my father, and two brothers, which is very traumatic. He accused one of my brothers of sexually abusing my children, and another one of my brothers of physically abusing my children. Neither one was true. He accused my parents of taking drugs. He said that our house was a drug house. Then he, right before the case, a month before the case, and during my birthday, he had the police come to the house and arrest me on bogus charges. They ended up dropping the charges, but I had stayed there in jail for like 3 or 4 days. I was extremely traumatized by that experience for many, many reasons, besides the fact that I was jailed with prostitutes and I am not familiar with that culture. So it was terrible. Just not having access to nature and the food and how cold it is, and it's difficult to even express. Then I also got strip searched, which um, I as part of a court case because it's illegal. The strip search, which is again very traumatic, and I think you know, I we won the case. I think maybe I got maybe $70 for 3 years in a row or something like that, something ridiculous. But anyway, these are all things I was subjected to. He did that just to win the case, I think, playing legal games. He won the case, which I couldn't believe, and we were still sharing sharing legal custody, but he got physical custody. I didn't understand why, because I actually had a restraining order against him because he had done crazy things. So I fully expected to get full custody of my children. There was no question in my mind. I had them all by myself for 2 years and homeschooling them while he was in another state with another woman not supporting us. So he ended up getting custody. He had a woman who was a psychologist who came and just testified against me, a woman in the community. He had another woman that he was seeing who was highly placed because he likes to be with women who are have some kind of prestige or something, because he doesn't really have any stature on his own. So he dragged me and my children through all of this fighting and stuff. Every single time it was time for my visitation, he would hold them, play games, or I would have to go to the police just to file a report. And by the time the summer came, I had a lot of reports, but then he just ran out of the state. And it took maybe a few months before I even located where they had gone. He had taken them through Denver to Atlanta, ended up living with another woman with her children for a few months, then announced that he was getting married to the woman he's married to now. Is he had been seeing her the whole time. I moved to Atlanta just trying to be with my children. And again, it was very traumatic. It took me many months to get to Atlanta. And actually, that was after he had already, no, okay, so yeah, it took him many months to get to Atlanta. Right after I got there, he ended up sending my youngest to Denver to be with the woman that is now her stepmother, away from me when I moved there just to be with my children. Fought me again, created all this drama with the police. I tried to call the police. The police wouldn't help me because legally they can say that you have to take it to court and all this and that. Every time I try to take it to court, he would do something. He moved as soon as I started filing it in court. He moved to Denver without telling me. So this took years. I ended up moving to Denver 9 months later because I had just gotten a job. So every time I moved, I had to get a new job. And that took time to get myself established. So I went to Denver was just living with someone, trying to see my children. Um, that I was there for a year before I left there because it was too traumatic and so many bad things had happened. Went back to Atlanta. Now, all this time that he had them, I wasn't having any visitations. He wasn't allowing me. There are only a few times that I saw my children, and he never allowed me to have them to spend the night, even though I was supposed to have them. All of that was broken. A lot of just trauma. I never thought that this would happen because he was starting to do things that were just openly treating me like I was an enemy, which it was not something he had done before. He had pretended before to respect me in some kind of way. But all of that dropped as soon as I wouldn't do what he wanted me to do, as far as hold it all down for him while he was having escapades and all of this. So basically, during this time, I noticed that when he was talking to me like he was hypnotizing me, telling me I was going to lose my children and all these kinds of things. He's studied hypnotism. He studied NLP. He studies like astro travel and probably remote viewing, all of these different things. In fact, because of how deep the rabbit hole has gone since he's had the children, like it's turned into a bad movie, like he's a spy or something, or like because it seems that he's attached to the government in some kind of way, because I haven't had any recourse when I've sought it out. Um, yeah. And since then, I really did lose my relationship with my children. Anyone who knows me knows that I was extremely close to my children, especially because we all lived in Africa for 10 years. I had moved them, I mean, with my ex-husband, but it was something that I wanted so I could focus on my children in nature away from American culture because I value them that much. And I really wanted to focus on my children. Um, and we were there for 10 full years without extended family there, without a large community, so that made our family unit extremely close, especially since I was homeschooling them as well. So you can imagine the level of trauma when I'm just taken out of their life and they're thrown into America with all of the elements and the confusion of what American culture represents, which is the reason why I moved my children out of America. And this is the thing, my ex-husband knew how important sheltering them was for me. And in order to hurt me, he took that away from me. But, the way I see it, the perspective that I see it from is that he broke my children, I know they're resilient, but of course, there's something that snaps when your mother's taken away from you. And what kind of mentality is it to take a child away from a mother for years? Like that makes it even more concerning to think of what else has happened to my children, because it's just as serious as child trafficking, or SA, any of those things come into question naturally, because if you're willing to hurt your children like that, to hypnotize them, to stay away from their own mother, there's no way to avoid the emotional um, pain and basically chronic PTSD that comes from that, you know. And I'm just saying this because this is not the only circumstance that I've heard of. I've actually met a lot of women and men who've had very crazy situations in the courts due to finances. Generally, the person who gets the most favor is the person who pays the most money to the court. And this is all demonic. It's a very demonic system. I will also say that there are clear signs of this affecting my children on a very deep level that's negative. I'm not sure if other people can see it. I would hope that people would be able to, but I'm not sure what's going on with the community around them. There must be very serious lies being said about me not being in my right mind. It has to be, or something, which are just complete lies and brings real serious concern to what is going on. My youngest daughter was seriously groomed. She was in junior high and they started putting her in a after school program to teach her about different forms of sexuality, and had someone, a teacher who was gay, teaching them about being gay and showing them movies and stuff like that, which I'm totally against. Not people being gay, but teaching children in junior high without permission. I would think that it's against the law because I did have legal custody as well. You know, for me not to be consulted, to have any say so, all of these things. So yes, it to me is mental abuse to do that to my daughter. And now she believes, or she calls herself pansexual. She only feels comfortable looking like a boy. Um, and she was extremely girly. She's a Cancer Libra. I'm not going to say her name or anything, but her natural demeanor is very soft, very girly. She can be confident and assertive, like just as much as a man when she wants to be. At times, she can be a leader. However, there's nothing butch about her as far as her energy. And so, imagine as a mother, the thing is that I'm not able to talk to her, to even be supportive as a mother in any way. So to me, this is a sure indication of illness that is developing because she doesn't feel comfortable in her own skin. Um, so, yes, the question to me is, how is it possible that a community leader is holding his children for years, and the community that's supposed to be about healing doesn't question what's wrong with this picture? You know, normal, healthy people can co parent and do what's best for the children. And so, I don't know how deep this hypnosis and, Jezebel, you know, um, sexual promiscuity and all these things that make you popular, I guess, in the community. I don't know how deep the rabbit hole goes as far as how many people have been affected by this social illness that is going on, because I imagine that it's not just my child that's affected within this community. If people are turning a blind eye to my daughter, then I'm sure there are other children that are being manipulated as well and not being noticed. So, again, my purpose in sharing this is to support anyone else who's going through this. Um, if you have had your children taken away from you, and you are someone who loves your children like a normal parent does, like I do, I would say that, It's very important to take care of your mental health, to take care of yourself, to know that you matter, that you are worthy outside of even being a parent, but whether you are balanced matters. And before you can be a parent, you have to be balanced. So um, I've come a long way in my healing, and it has required me to be able to actually see the truth, to come out of the spell, to come out of, all of the mental confusion that's been projected onto me, all of the gaslighting, you know. And in order to do that, I had to isolate myself. I had to isolate myself. And so I encourage anyone here who's going through it to stop and to isolate yourself and to make sure that you are balanced before you pursue taking care of anyone else, you know. So even now, the situation is still what it is. I am balanced within myself, and I'm open to how the situation will change now that I'm able to use my voice again, and that I'm strong enough just to not be broken down within myself. Um, it gives hope for what can happen in the future. My children know how much I love them. I've never, wavered from that. Um, you know, there's so many painful things that have happened in the past 10 years. It's difficult for me to talk about as far as the specific instances and how abusive the actions that have been taken against me have been. Um, but again, I guess that's not really what I want to focus on so much. It's more the big picture of having loving parents who are held from their children and creating mental illness in bloodlines that already have too much mental illness. We can't really afford to do this with our families after severing our families for so many generations. So, yeah, I don't know who needed to hear that, but yeah, it's happened to me, and I'm healing. And that is what has changed my focus in life. I mean, I've always known that I needed to heal from generational things. But now healing is my number one focus, healing and being close to God. And outside of that, my life purpose is complete. Um, but in healing myself, I definitely want to work with others to, it's a collective thing. We're not here to be in isolation. So I'm now strong enough to be able to use my voice and to be able to contribute, you know, what my experience has been and what my wisdom has developed into from this horrible experience that I really truly would not wish on my enemies. I wouldn't, because it's the type of thing that it's not just about one person. It breaks down our community in such a way that is just, it's unspeakable. These are unspeakable crimes that we're talking about, you know. So thank you, Kaleidoscope Klan. Please let me know if you too have experienced anything like this. Like I said, I do know of a few people who've come forth. I've had conversations with a few people, and it's just deplorable, that these things are not only allowed to happen, but are supported in happening just for people's ego, you know? And it's something that has to come to an end in order for us to get on the other side of, this serious crisis that we're having with family and community in the United States, and what's turning into, a serious problem in the world overall. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for being witness to my testimony. I know that as I am able to share more, it will also put me in a better place to heal and to be able to help other people more. So, as always, Kaleidoscope Klan, continue to embody the sacred transformation. And I pray that you have a very productive new moon in Sagittarius, also, that will help you to plant more seeds for healing and manifestation for yourself. Okay? So, have a beautiful evening. And until next time, take care. Peace.